This is a general diagram of the incident management process. Now I will briefly explain what the main sub-branches of this process are. The process can be started from 3 different situations by a user who needs to register an incident using the portal instead of the CMDBuild app. Otherwise, it can be started directly from the help desk because, let's say, the help desk receives a phone call from a user claiming a malfunction. In this case, he can either insert the registration himself, or the file can be opened by a specialist who is solving a problem, or while doing his job as soon as he detects an issue and therefore starts the IM process. After the opening phase, we have the classification phase, which can be directly run from the help desk or by the specialists. This classification step is the crucial junction among all the subflows. To be more specific, from here you can activate horizontal escalations. After that, a help desk reassigns the incident to another help desk, or you can have vertical escalations between help desk and specialists. In this phase, you can also decide that the process you inserted isn't actually an incident, but it's more of a request, either a service request or a change. And therefore, it is possible to shut down this process and automatically start a request or a change process. After the classification phase, we have the analysis phase, in which the issue is analyzed and an ETA is given on the closing date. During the phase of analysis, it will be possible to open a change management process if the solution of the problem involves the execution of some modifications to the IT infrastructure. Or you can suspend the process itself in order to wait, for example, for some hardware replacement. After this, we have the execution phase, which is the actual phase in which the problem gets solved. The execution phase could be reiterated several times so that the various steps of the execution get recorded, and then we move to end the process. We can say that, as you can see from this diagram, the steps carried out by help desk mirror the ones executed by a group of specialists. The only difference is that specialists can either directly close the procedure or get back to help desk for the closure confirmation. Notification emails are sent during all the steps of the process to the ticket requester when the ticket is registered and when it's closed. So, he gets notified that his or her registration is worked out, in the end, about the outcome of the concluded request. Emails are also sent every time the process changes the main executing group. So, if the help desk, let's say, reassigns the incident to a different group, this group will receive a notification email in which they'll be pointed to the ticket number and the link to the actual ticket record inside CMDBuild. On the screen, you can see right now an example of a stream of an incident inserted by a user through the self-service portal. This is the login page to the portal, so we are impersonating an employee of the company, and I log on to the portal. This is the portal homepage, and as you can see here, you have a section that allows you to open up the incident. The first thing I'm asked to do is to search the knowledge base in case I might be able to solve the problem by myself, simply consulting this FAQ archive. If I haven't found the solution I was looking for in here, this button allows me to start the actual request. For example, I can have an issue with the printer. I am asked to insert a brief description of the problem and then sometimes a longer one, labeling my problem. In this case, I have a printer issue, so I selected the hardware label. I can also attach documents. Then, when you click on Send, the system records my request. If at this point I move from the page called My Requests, I can visualize my request with the creation date, the number of the incident, the description I inserted, and above all, I can keep monitoring the situation of my query. At the moment, as you can see, the request is still in the classification phase. In the moment this request is created, the system registers it automatically on the application. Therefore, if I go on CMDBuild now, and I log in as a user of the help desk, I will find the incident section with the request awaiting elaboration. In the classification step carried out by help desk, you can link this ticket to another incident, and this will automatically suspend the ticket until the solution of the main incident. This is very helpful in case of multiple users referring to the same issue. In this kind of situation, you usually want to carry out just one of the queries and suspend and close all the others. These fields identify the category of the issue. In this case, our issue is about the printer. After that, we indicate the urgency and the impact, which is an estimate of how many people are affected by the issue itself. In this case, it's just a personal printer, so we can put low on the impact voice. The help desk can insert more classification notes afterward and can view the data of the requester. As you can see here, I can view all of the data of the person applying to the system, and that's useful to get his or her contacts in case I need to ask anything about the issue. I can scroll through the other requests of the user, and I can also select the asset affected by the issue. In this case, we have Serena Marlowe's printer, and as you can see, this window presents only the assets assigned to the person who opened the ticket. I can also disable the filter and visualize all the assets in my CMDB. In this case, we select Serena's printer and we decide what to do on our next step. So, exactly in the same way I showed you in the main diagram of incident management, this is the junction point where I decide which path to take with this ticket. In this case, we head directly to the analysis phase. That means that the process will stay assigned to my group, the hardware help desk, and I'll be able to advance the process and elaborate it. In the analysis phase, I have to type the ETA for solving the issue. Let's say I suppose I can solve the problem today, writing some analysis notes in which I make some assumptions about what the issue might be. I can indicate how much time I spent to carry out the analysis. In this case, a half an hour. And then I can decide what to do as my next step. Here we go directly to the execution. In the execution step, I have to say what I actually did. So imagine now that the help desk operator actually went in Serena's office and checked everything in order to fix the issue. When he comes back to his workplace, he can record what he had just carried out. For example, he could write that the configuration of the printer was fixed. How long it took to solve the issue. And then, in the following step, which could be recording another execution step, or just end the session with the last step. In the closure phase, I'm asked to record the outcome of the procedure. Insert new records into the knowledge base, if necessary. Or select the answer from the pre-existing voices in the knowledge base and file the answer for the user. At this point, you can go back to the analysis phase. For example, if the issue hasn't been solved yet, or get to the final closure. It's interesting that every time the process advances, this work registry gets filled in. For each step we made, the process records the name of the user who carried out that specific step of the process, the date and the hour it happened, the possible notes, and the time needed to complete the various operations. I can also keep track of how much time the system spent on each step. Let's look at an example. Here, I have the ticket number and the requester, when the ticket was opened, and some brief data summarizing the features of the process. This report indicates that at the moment, the process is in the closure phase and it has been there for a minute and a half. I can also view how long the process has been sitting in each of the steps of the process. For example, the help desk took 4 minutes for the classification and about 1 minute for analysis and execution, while the process never even touches the other steps. This can be very useful, especially if you need to keep under control all of the advancement times related to the SLA and the help desk can have with the company. Right now, we click on Advance, and the process will be shut down. Once the process shuts down, going back to the portal, we can see that the user who inserted the query can now see that his query is now closed. He can check all the data and all the information related to the incident. And from the email section, we can see that he received 2 emails related to the incident from the system. A registration email automatically sent to the user in the moment of the registration, and an email for the closure in which he got all the reports of the help desk and the summary. So, even without direct access to the CMDBuild interface, through the portal, the user can start the incident, monitor the request, and receive all the most important notifications about the process by email.